What is going on to all my American Horror Story fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with my weekly recap, breakdown, and review of the latest episode of Season 10 of American Horror Story. Today we're talking Episode 5, which was titled Gaslight, an episode in which we finally find out, does Doris have talent? Does Karen have talent? We're going to break it all down here in this spoiler review, but before we dive into it, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you all can get the alert from when I drop new content. If you all enjoyed this spoiler review, well, make sure to like and share this review. It helps out the channel so much, but I also appreciate all the support. And in those comments, let's talk about this 5th episode, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the longest in length in regards to the timing of the episode. I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff that went down. Some of my predictions came true, some of them didn't, but there was something a little bit off about this episode. I'm going to break it all down for you all. Maybe we can discover it. Maybe I'm on my own. I feel like the pacing was a little bit off, but hey, I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited to see what comes next week, but I want to know your thoughts, your theories, your pros, your cons, and what you hope to see, which I believe is the finale of part 1 coming next week. Let's talk about it in the comment section. So just kind of going into my initial thoughts here. As I mentioned, there was a lot to take away, a lot of positives in this episode. Man, I felt bad for this whole season, but in this episode, I felt so bad for Doris as the way she was treated, not only by Ursula, who has no blood relation to her at all, but her daughter. Alma is such a goddamn savage, and Alma and Ursula on a spin-off series taking on Hollywood to try to sell these pills. Sign me up for that series, because those two girls are something else, to say the least. And you know, Mickey in the relationship with Karen and how that tragedy plays out, and the blood, I truly do think the blood going into the water is going to play huge into next week's finale for part 1, and we'll break that down obviously. But I don't know, man, I gotta say, the way Karen went out, and we don't get that much Evan Peters at all in this episode. And I mentioned very early on that this is why I came back to American Horror Story after my 2-year absence from the previous 2 seasons. I love American Horror Story, but it's Sarah Paulson, it's Evan Peters, and they just seem to be like background players, and they really weren't that heavily involved in this entire series. But hey, we'll get into that a little bit later. But again, let me know your pros and cons. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let's start breaking this episode down as we open up with Doris as she's giving birth to their newborn child, which we later find out his name is Eli. It is a he, and we see it didn't even cross my mind until the moment happened. Harry had no business being in that room. He should have came up with some excuse. Oh, you know, honey, I'm not feeling good. I don't want to get the baby sick. But no, he's in there, and it is blood everywhere. And I'm like, man, this dude's going to end up doing something crazy in front of his wife, in front of these nurses and doctors. But he retrains, you know, he keeps himself calm. But then as soon as everyone, you know, he cuts the umbilical cord. And as soon as those nurses leave, which I've never had a child, I always assumed like there would be like nurses in the room for like immediately after the baby's born, but no, they're like dipped out, and she passed the hell out. She was like straight to sleep, and that's where Harry was like, here's my opportunity. He takes that cart, goes in the bathroom, drains the blood, sipping it up. I'm like, man, this is foreshadowing for that young baby, for not only his dad that he should worry about, but more importantly, his sister, who we'll talk about later on. But we see that Doris at this point is back at home at P-Town. She's like, well, this isn't New York. And we see Harry putting on the works again, just taking advantage of his wife, and you know, they're sedating her with drugs and just filling her head with all this stuff throughout the episode. But you know, he tells her, you know, everything's going to be fine. The doctors want you to be here. Just rest up. We'll leave in a couple weeks. And as he's saying that, Alma's just sitting there looking at that baby. I'm like, dude, this girl is a straight savage, man. And I'm really excited to see what they do with Alma to finish up this season. But moving on to Mickey and Karen, as he has new wheels. He has his Ford GTL, which is because he is now going to be the Kevin Feige for this Speed Racer franchise and this whole universe he's going to have at his disposal. And this is the moment where we see throughout this entire series, Mickey is continuously trying to get Karen to take advantage of these pills, to use the pill, take advantage of the skills you have, and she just continues to refuse to take the pill, which just makes me so curious. It makes me go back to just, obviously we'll talk about her demise. I'm assuming she's dead by the end of this episode, but I would have really loved to have gotten, when we got that flashback last week episode, I would have loved to have gotten more of Karen's backstory, because why is it that she has, you know, clearly she doesn't care about her. She's taking all these drugs, and look at her physical appearance. She clearly doesn't have that much, like, compassion about her physical body. I don't know why she just refuses to constantly not take this pill until later in the episode, but I would have loved to have gotten more backstory on that character before she unfortunately dies. But it was in this moment where I didn't even think too, I'm like, damn, Karen, first time we met her, she was still in a baby. Now the Gardners have the baby, and we know that Belle and Austin have been given the task to kill the Gardners by the chemist. I'm like, oh, that baby is going to end up being kidnapped, and it kind of happens in a little way, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But this was a moment I was not expecting to happen so early in the show, as we see Doris is sleeping and she wakes up to find her pretty little daughter eating her newborn baby's leg. Or not eating, but drinking its blood. I'm like, I was not expecting that so early on. I thought it was a hallucination for a second. But no, almost just that crazy. So we move forward as she is telling her dad, because at this point Harry's like, what are you doing? This is your newborn baby. This is a newborn brother. Why are you sipping his blood? And as we've heard previously from Belle, and she says it even much so in this episode, it's the blood. The purest blood is baby's blood. It's better than the pill. So again, it's Alma. Alma is just insane. And I love it because she's such a savage. As she just keeps saying, we gotta get rid of their mom. She's a waste of space. We gotta get rid of her. I don't know why she's still around. And as I said many weeks ago, that little girl is going to end up killing her mom, which we'll get to a little bit later. But time for Auntie Ursula to come and have a conversation with Doris. And again, guys, Doris, I feel she's the character that I feel the most for, man. She, like, we thought that what Belle went through in her relationship, yes, it was bad. Obviously, her husband was a dick and he deserved to get what happened to him last week. But dude, Doris has been through the ringer, as not only does she hear from her little daughter, but now she's hearing it from a complete stranger. No, at least no blood relates to her, as Ursula's telling her all this stuff that, oh, you're gonna be okay. The baby's fine. Your daughter wasn't drinking the blood. Just trying to calm her down. But then this is where she gets dark, and this is where she gets a little bit out of pocket, where she starts to tell her, oh, you should go ahead and just quit your job, just become a housewife. And by the way, you should probably start working out, losing some of that baby fat, and be on your best behavior. Because Harry, he's the breadwinner in this family, so go ahead and tighten up. I'm like, dude, someone needs to help Doris ASAP. She needs to get the hell out of the situation. Unfortunately, Doris, it doesn't work out for you. But I'm just like, dude, she is getting it from all types of ways in this episode throughout this entire season. But the moment that I figure what happened finally comes to fruition as Alma, oh, hey, Mom, how you doing? I have a glass of water, and Dad said that, like, just being the cutest little girl, but she's just so evil. I don't know if you all remember when I first started reviewing this show, I'm like, the little girl, the actor isn't real. Dude, she has grown on me so much. Like, her menacing, demonic, evil-ass side, she plays that perfectly. She gives her mom the pill, and this is where, Doris is like, Harry, like, coming in here, get this little demon child, this, 666 Damien daughter of mine out of my way, as she's like, what is the pill? Why is she trying to give me the pill? And this is where she breaks down. The truth starts to come out as Alma tells her, yeah, Mom, the pill gives us, our abilities to be great, and I think you should take it, Mom. You can be great like me and Dad, and everything's gonna be fine if you take the pill. But we see that she is not taking that peer pressure. She is done with this. She throws the pill, throws the water on the ground, runs out of the house. The pill creatures come to surround her, but she's saved by Harry as he says, listen, I'm going to tell you everything. It's going to be okay. Which he doesn't tell her everything because we see how things play out a little bit later. But as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to that baby, we see Belle pays a visit to Karen, and she wants her to take the baby, and if she doesn't, she's going to take her eyes away from her. So and by the way, Belle in that moment when she's like talking about her and her waist, like her talent, her art is like, what does she say, is like worse than bugs on a windshield. Again, the burns, the stuff that Belle has said in the season has been straight up hilarious. But going back to Karen, as she tells Mickey that she does not want to take the baby, she actually wants to save the baby and take care of the baby, and it's going to clean her up. I'm like, listen, that baby's better off with those damn pale people than they are with you. But that's her goal. She wants to do this, and she needs his help. And I'm thinking, oh, they're going to take a baby and go to LA and live happily ever after? Nope, it doesn't work out that way, as we finally get the name of the baby, which they name him Eli, which I know the name Eli is kind of biblical in the sense of Hebrew. It means like, enlightenment and then high and elevated. Also, it means, my God. So it's just like interesting that she looks at Eli as like her savior. It's kind of a way to maybe get her out of the situation, which it doesn't work out for her. But we see that the little girl Little evil Alma, she is continuing to pressure her mom and saying, I believe in you, mommy. You should just take the pill, mom. And she inevitably does. She takes the pill, and we see that it's time to see, is Mama Doris, is she have any talent, ladies and gentlemen, as she starts to draw? It doesn't work out for her, guys. She does not have the talent as she throws up. We go back to Mickey and Karen. They break into the gardener's house, and they come across Doris, who is now slowly but surely transforming into a pale person. This is where Karen runs out of the house. Mickey's still in the house by this point. I'm thinking that he's going to take the kid and just deliver it to Belle. But no, goes in the street and like, hey, I love you, Karen, but I'm going to give you this ultimatum. Take this pill or I'm going to feed you to the pale people. And, she says, I'm not going to take it. I love you, but I'm just not going to do it. He says, all right, well, good riddance. And he walks away, and the pale people start to surround her. And you think that she's going to die, but no, she takes the pill. And it is now time to see if she has the talent inside her to be one of the talented people in the town. So back to Doris as she's trying to kill the baby at this point. Harry comes in at the nick of time, throws her in the bathroom, and then this is where he, starts to kind of tell the whole situation that this was Ursula. Ursula, she set all this up. She was the one that was in Alma's head to like, get your mom, take the pill so we can get her out of this equation, which the plan comes true. So Harry finally has his moment to tell his wife that he knew that this whole family thing was a facade. He wants to just care about the work, and eventually they were going to break up anyway. And we see eventually lets her out and lets her go out in the wild to be a part of her own family, the Pale people. But back to these lovebirds, Mickey and Karen, as they are walking on the beach, and I did not expect this to happen. But if it was anyone that was going to kill Mickey, it was going to be Karen, as she bites into his neck, which I don't know if there's any ramifications of a talented vampire-ish person drinking the blood, sucking the blood of another one. As we see, this is how Mickey dies, and she takes her own life. She cuts her own wrist. She goes in the water. So I don't know. Again, I know that part 2 is going to have some of the same actors coming back for part 2, but playing different roles. So again, I don't know how connective of this part is going to be connected to part 2. But if it is connected, her blood mixed in with Mickey's blood, her drinking the blood of a vampire talent person, I don't know if that's going to cause any ramifications of what we can expect in season 2 regarding the aliens and knowing that the chemists worked in the government and things like that. So I don't know if there's any connection to the two, but I hope there is, because I think that her blood going into the water is going to be very huge. And, water travels all around the place. So where her blood is going to lead to, maybe that's going to end on the cliffhanger where we're going to see, like, I don't know if you guys saw Cabin Fever many, many years ago, Eli Roth, but the blood went into the water and then people started drinking it. So I don't know if that's the angle they're going for to finish up this part 1. And again, I don't know if it ties into part 2 at all. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. But as we wrap up, Ursula and her great new assistant, Alma, goes to the chemist's house to get more pills as they see Doris is feeding on a rodent, which is a great callback to episode 1, because we know that she hates little creatures. She hates, Lyme disease, and now she's sitting there eating a rodent, a roadkill. So really good episode. Again, the pacing was a little bit off. I do wish that Karen had a little bit more. I really wish that there was more for Sarah Paulson to do. I don't know if she was busy shooting the movie that she made last year on Hulu, or shooting another show with what she's doing with the American Story show with Monica Lewinsky. I don't know if Evan Peters was filming Mayor of Easttown, but I really wish they were more heavily involved in the series. But hey, I'll take Ursula and Alma eating up the scenery, Belle eating up the scenery. I really enjoy those characters, and I thought this episode was good. I just thought that it was something missing in this episode, man. I think that it was just a little bit too slow paced for me, and the moments, as I predicted weeks ago, kind of came to be true in regards to a whole family taking the pills, and I thought that the baby, by Doris taking the pill, I thought she was going to take it while she was still pregnant, and the baby's going to be maybe an alien or something like that. But that didn't come to be true. But I did come up with the thoughts that Alma was going to be trying to kill that baby, trying to kill her mom, and that somewhat happened. So look, I'm really excited to see how they wrap up this part 1 and see how connected it's going to be to part 2 in a couple weeks. But I'm really excited to see how they wrap this up. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, your pros, your cons, your thoughts, your theories for what you hope to see in next week's part 1 finale. Let's talk about it in the comment section. If you stuck around to this point in the video, I appreciate every single one of you all. Before you leave, make sure to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and of course subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell, that way you don't miss any of my other content. As you can see on the screen now, make sure to subscribe, check out my other videos. See you all on the next video. Hope you're having a great day. Take care, everybody.